There is a pattern hidden in plain sight across the entire Bible. It runs from the first pages of Genesis to the final vision of Revelation. It shows up in the most decisive moments of the story: the burning bush, the giving of the law, the transfiguration, the crucifixion, the ascension. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Mountains. Not as scenery, not as geographical detail, as theology. If this is your first time here, subscribe now. We dig into the Bible the way it was meant to be read, slowly, carefully, in the original languages, with the full weight of its history and beauty. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Now, let us talk about mountains. The ancient world did not experience mountains the way we do. We drive through them. We photograph them. We put them on motivational posters. But in the ancient Near East, a mountain was a cosmological location. It was the place where the vertical axis of the universe touched the earth, where the realm of the divine pressed down into the realm of the human. The Hebrew word for mountain is har, and it appears over 500 times in the Old Testament alone. That frequency is not accidental. It is a signal. The biblical authors are building something: a theology of place, a theology of encounter. And the question the whole mountain narrative is asking is this: where does God meet man? The answer, threaded through centuries of text, is astonishing. It begins at a mountain called Sinai. Moses is tending sheep in the wilderness, far from Egypt, far from the life he destroyed with one violent act. He leads the flock to the far side of the desert, to a mountain, and there, the angel of the Lord appears to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Exodus 3:2. The bush burns and is not consumed, and God speaks from within it. Remove your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Exodus 3:5. Holy ground, at the base of a mountain. The Hebrew word for holy is kadosh. Its root carries the idea of separation, of being set apart from the ordinary. When God says, "This ground is kadosh," he is not describing a geological feature. He is making a declaration about proximity. This particular patch of earth, at the base of this particular mountain, has been drawn into the orbit of the divine. The ordinary has been interrupted. This is the pattern. Mountains in the Bible are interruption zones, places where the normal logic of human life gets suspended and something older, stranger, and more real breaks through. 3 months after the exodus from Egypt, Israel arrives at the foot of that same mountain. And what happens there is unlike anything else in the ancient world. God does not speak only to a priest, only to a king, only to a seer. He speaks to an entire nation. There was thunder and lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. Exodus 19:16. Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. They stood at the foot of the mountain. Notice the geography. Israel is below. God is above. The mountain is the mediating space between them, and God descends. The Lord descended to the top of Mount Sinai, Exodus 19:20. Heaven comes down. That is the movement, not man climbing to reach God, but God choosing to lower himself to the threshold of the human world. The mountain is not the destination. The mountain is the meeting place. This is why, when the prophets want to describe what restoration will look like, when everything broken gets healed, when exile ends, when God finally sets things right. They reach for mountain imagery. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. Isaiah 2:2. The nations will stream to it. They will say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his paths." Isaiah 2:3. A mountain, elevated above all other mountains, nations streaming toward it, God teaching from it. The whole image is built on the Sinai memory, but expanded to include everyone, not just Israel. Something is being built here across the entire arc of the Hebrew Bible. Mountains are not decoration. They are the grammar of divine encounter. Then something happens that changes everything. A man stands on a mountain in Galilee and begins to speak. Matthew 5 opens with a detail that most readers skip entirely. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. Matthew 5:1. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. A mountain. God descending to the human threshold, teaching his ways. The first readers of Matthew's Gospel would have felt this immediately. This is a new Sinai. This is Moses, but not Moses. This is the voice that spoke from the fire, now speaking with a human. And what does he say? "You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, but I tell you." Matthew 5:21-22. The law given at Sinai is not being abolished. It is being deepened, fulfilled, taken somewhere it could not go before. The mountain is still the meeting place, but now the one who descends is not a voice in smoke and thunder. He is a man who eats bread, who weeps at tombs, who touches the untouchable. And later, when 3 of his closest disciples follow him up a high mountain alone, what they see unmakes them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Matthew 17:2. Moses and Elijah appear with him. A cloud covers them. A voice speaks from the cloud. "This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." Matthew 17:5. Sinai again. The cloud, the voice, the terror. The disciples fall face down, overwhelmed. But then Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Do not be afraid." Matthew 17:7. Do not be afraid. That is the difference. At Sinai, when God's presence descended, the people trembled and begged Moses to be the go-between, because the encounter was too overwhelming, too consuming, too other. Here, on the mountain of transfiguration, the same weight of glory is present, and Jesus reaches out his hand and says, "Do not be afraid." The mountain has not changed, the holiness has not changed, but the mediator has changed everything. There is one more mountain. It is not beautiful. It is outside the city walls, a skull-shaped hill used for public executions, Golgotha. And the one who stood transfigured in white light is now nailed to a cross in the dark. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. Matthew 27:45. This mountain too is an interruption zone. But here the interruption runs the other direction. Here it is not heaven descending in fire and thunder. Here it is the Son of God entering the deepest possible point of human darkness. The place of shame, abandonment, and death. And when he dies, the curtain of the temple is torn in two, from top to bottom. Matthew 27:51. The barrier between the holy and the human, shredded. Not from bottom to top, as if man finally forced his way through. From top to bottom, God tearing it open from his side. The mountain that began in Sinai, that ran through Zion, that blazed on the mountain of transfiguration, arrives here at its strange and terrible and glorious conclusion. The place where God meets man is no longer a geographical location you have to travel to. It is not a mountain you have to climb. It is a cross. And that means something for wherever you are right now. Maybe you are not on a mountain. Maybe you are in a valley, the kind that feels like it has no floor, where the light barely gets in, where you have been waiting so long for something to change that you have started to wonder whether anything ever. The mountain theology of the Bible is not telling you to climb harder, to do more, to reach higher. It is telling you that the movement has always been God's. He descended at Sinai. He descended in flesh. He descended into death itself. If the curtain has been torn from top to bottom, then there is no place you can be that puts you out of reach. The meeting is not reserved for the summit. It happens in the wilderness, at a burning bush, to a man with a violent past and no hope left. It happened to you, reading this, wherever you are. The mountain was never the point. The meeting was. And the God who descended, who tore the curtain, who touched the terrified disciples and said, "Get up, do not be afraid," is the same God present in whatever wilderness you are standing in right now. If this study meant something to you, subscribe and leave a comment, even one word. Share it with someone who has been wondering whether God is still close. Pray for us as we keep digging into these texts. And may the God who descended, who meets us in the wilderness and on the darkest hill, meet you in whatever season you are walking through. The darkest hill, meet you in whatever season you are walking through.